Have you ever met someone who felt like a long-lost part of your soul, only to find that despite the deep connection, you could never truly be with them? It's haunting. You walk away, but a fragment of your heart stays behind. You question, was it me? Did I do something wrong? Did I miss a fleeting chance at happiness? Before you beat yourself up, consider this. Maybe this encounter wasn't meant to lead to a lifelong romance. It was meant to lead to a revelation. What if the universe didn't bring them into your life for love, but for awakening? In today's video, we're exploring a powerful insight from Carl Jung, a pioneer in analytical psychology. He believed that some relationships feel destined, not because they're meant to last, but because they expose something deep within us that must change. We'll explore why we feel intense resonance with someone unattainable, how projection and the unconscious anima/animus work in our favor, real-life stories of love that sparked psychological awakening, and why letting go with awareness is an act of wisdom, not defeat. If you're seeking clarity, especially at a stage of life where relationships feel more fragile and meaningful, this one is for you. By the end, you'll understand the profound power of meeting souls who aren't meant to stay, but are meant to shift your entire life perspective. So, settle in. Let's walk this journey together. There are moments in life when you meet someone who feels like a missing piece of your soul. Conversations flow effortlessly. Your laughter sinks, your silences are comfortable. There's a sense that the universe aligned perfectly to make this meeting happen. But then, life interferes. They live far away, they're emotionally unavailable, they're married, or you both are at completely different stages of your lives. The connection is undeniable, but the timing, the reality, is unworkable. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, would say this is no accident. In fact, he believed these intense connections are often orchestrated by the unconscious mind, not for romantic fulfillment but for self-realization. He introduced the idea of the anima and animus, the inner unconscious image we carry of the opposite gender. When you meet someone who embodies these qualities, it feels like a mirror is being held up to your soul, but what you're really seeing is yourself. You're not falling in love with them, you're falling in love with parts of yourself you've long forgotten or suppressed. For example, a highly rational man may be drawn to a deeply intuitive woman. He believes he's found his other half, but what's really happening is that his soul is crying out for balance. Her presence awakens his neglected inner sensitivity. This projection creates a magnetic pull, but it's also fragile, because once the unconscious becomes conscious, the illusion fades, and the relationship, if it was ever meant to be one, often dissolves. It hurts, but it's also sacred. It's life's way of pushing you toward wholeness. Let's bring this idea to life with a real story. Maria was 68, a retired librarian living a quiet life in Lisbon. She spent most of her adult years caring for her aging parents and raising 2 children alone. Love, for her, had always been something practical, not poetic. That was until she visited an art gallery during a solo vacation to Barcelona. There she met Lucien, a French painter in his 70s with silver hair and eyes that looked like they'd lived many lives. They spoke about colors, grief, and memory. Maria laughed in a way she hadn't since her 20s. She felt radiant, alive. Over coffee the next day, Lucien shared his view on life. The purpose of art, he said, is not to decorate walls, but to disturb your sleep, to awaken you. And awaken her he did. They spent 5 days together, walking, talking, holding hands like teenagers, but Lucien had no interest in long-term commitments. He had grown accustomed to his solitude, his creative chaos. When Maria returned to Lisbon, she cried every day for weeks. She told her therapist, "It felt like I met my soulmate and lost him in the same breath." But over time, something shifted. She began painting again, not well, but joyfully. She joined a local art group. She started wearing brighter clothes. Her apartment, once filled with dusty books, now had splashes of canvas and sunlight. She never saw Lucien again, but in her words, "He didn't come to stay, he came to stir the part of me I had buried under duty." This is what Jung meant by individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. Sometimes, people enter our lives not to walk with us, but to open a door we were too afraid to approach alone. We often think attraction is about the other person, their charm, their depth, their kindness. But as Carl Jung emphasized, much of what we experience in romantic chemistry is not just about them. It's about us, especially the parts of us we've hidden away. Jung called this the shadow. The parts of our psyche we've repressed because society, family, or even religion told us they were wrong. This includes not just anger or jealousy, but also joy, sensuality, ambition, and vulnerability. So when you meet someone who embodies your shadow qualities, let's say a free spirit when you've lived your whole life with responsibility, it's not just admiration. It's recognition. Your soul is saying, "That was me, that's what I silenced." You're not just drawn to them because of who they are. You're drawn because they mirror what you've disowned in yourself. That's why these relationships feel so intense, because they're not really about love. They're about integration. This realization often happens too late, after the heartbreak, after the longing, after wondering why things didn't work. But it's never really too late. Jung believed that these fateful encounters are not random. He introduced the concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that carry spiritual or psychological weight. So when you meet someone unexpectedly who stirs something deep in you, despite all odds, despite logic, that moment may be a message from the unconscious. Not a message saying, "This person is your forever," but rather, "This person represents something you need to awaken, explore, or heal." Think about it. How often do people enter your life exactly when you're questioning your purpose, your creativity, your worth? And yet they vanish just as quickly. It's as if life delivers a puzzle piece, just enough to show you what the bigger picture could be, but not the whole image. It's maddening. But it's also sacred. These people are like teachers in disguise, or as one therapist put it, some people are not chapters, they're footnotes. But without them, the book wouldn't make sense. Letting go is hard, especially when the connection felt cosmic. But as Jung said, what you resist persists. Holding on, fantasizing, replaying memories, it only deepens the suffering. True letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating. You don't erase them from your life. You honor their impact, and you move forward with the growth they helped ignite. Here's a story to show you what that can look like. David, a retired dentist in Canada, lost his wife to illness after 40 years of marriage. For a long time, he felt numb. Then, during a holiday church event, he met Lydia, a warm, graceful woman who sang with a voice that reminded him of something long lost. They became friends. She helped him rediscover music, laughter, and even the courage to speak in front of others. But Lydia had her own life. Grown children, a business to run, and a promise to herself never to remarry. David was devastated. Why would I be given this second chance only to have it denied? But in time he realized, she wasn't here to be my partner. She was here to wake me back to life. Now David volunteers at a youth choir, teaches music, and even travels alone, something he never thought he'd do. Letting go of Lydia didn't mean losing her influence. It meant embracing what she represented, vitality, voice, and vulnerability. In the end, the greatest lesson is this. Some people are not meant to walk with us forever, but they show us where we haven't walked within ourselves. They mirror back the parts of us we've forgotten. They stir desires we were told to ignore. They remind us that we're still alive. Don't measure these connections by how long they lasted. Measure them by how deeply they changed you. Ask yourself, what part of me did they awaken? What fear did they help me face? What truth did they help me speak? If you've loved and lost, don't shame yourself. That was never the point. The point was to become more whole. So if you've ever loved someone you couldn't be with, know this. You're not broken. You didn't fail. And the love wasn't wasted, it was sacred. It was a bridge. And it brought you home to yourself. If this message touched your heart, please like the video to support thoughtful content. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that help you heal and grow. And if someone you know is going through something similar, share this with them. It might be the clarity they've been waiting for. You're not alone on this journey, and sometimes even one video can be a turning point.